Mr. Candy, you were a Conservative Party member and donor from 2009 to now. Between 2020 and 2020, you donated £270,000 to the Conservatives. Do you intend to donate similar amounts to Reform before the general election, the next one?
No, I've mentioned this morning I will donate a seven-figure sum to Reform.
So over £1 million?
Over £1 million. And I will also raise Reform more money than it's ever been raised for a political party in this country.
And Elon Musk said on X, on the announcement of your appointment, that this was, quote, interesting.
Yes.
Are you going to try and raise funds from him? And have either of you had conversations with Elon Musk or his team about donations?
We've had no conversations yet regarding donations. Elon's obviously very close to President Trump. Nigel's also super close to President Trump. As you know, we helped, via my wife, do the largest Republican fundraiser ever done outside of America. If Elon wants to give and it can be given legally, then of course Reform would be very interested in that.
Because Nigel Farage, there was talk about an £80 million donation from Elon Musk.
A Sunday newspaper story without any basis of fact. Now, let's be clear, Elon Musk is very supportive of what Reform is trying to do, supportive of me personally, and we've got good connections with him. Nick's got good connections with him as well.
He's messaged me this morning.
But there you are. So
He's messaged you this morning?
Yeah, we're speaking, so probably later
And what
today.
did he say?
I cannot discuss that.
Okay. But he messaged you directly?
So yeah, we're speaking directly.
So he's giving us political support. We have, at this stage, neither solicited or been offered donations.
Okay. Fundraising, Nick Candy has joined the party, a big coup for you, professionalisation of the party. You have talked about the need to professionalise, you've talked about having over 100,000 members. There were issues in the general election. You're on record saying you were dismayed by reprehensible, they're your words, racist comments from campaigners and homophobic comments by one of your members of staff. Did it hurt you in the campaign?
Hugely. Hugely. I mean, don't forget, I've been out of the picture for a couple of years. Reform was a very, very small party. Full credit to Richard Tice for keeping it going, but it wasn't really in a fit state to fight a snap general election. That's all changed. We are now vetting candidates for the English County Council elections. I'll bet you to a standard that no other party for local elections ever has done. That is happening. We're forming branches up and down the country. I've brought in an entrepreneurial chairman in the shape of Zia Youssef to set the thing on the right footing. I've now got a professional in to help us raise money. We are going places. In fact, I'll go further. I genuinely think we're at that moment where there could be a genuine political revolution in this country.
And Nigel Farage, you talk about cleaning up Reform as a big part of what you're doing. You've just explained that. And I want to ask you about James McMurdoch, the Reform MP for South Basildon and East Thurrock. He was jailed in 2006 for assaulting his girlfriend. You have said the vetting wasn't as it should be. Under your plans for professionalisation, how would you deal with a case like Mr McMurdoch in the future?
Let's be clear, he went to a Young Offenders Institute, right?
For 21 days.
He was a teenager and he did something he shouldn't have done. He was out of control. He was out of control. That conviction is now spent.
Yes.
It is a spent conviction.
How would you deal with it in the future? That's my question.
That conviction is now spent. And from that very unpromising start in life, he went on, got himself qualified.
The point is, the question is
No, you're not
how...
listening. You're not listening.
I am listening to you.
He went on.
All right,
he
please.
went on from that. He got qualified. He became a bond trader in the City of London. He's happily married with his 5th child on the way, and he's now become a member of Parliament. If in a country that believes in Christian forgiveness, he is not a good example to young tearaways, I don't know what is.
And the question is how would you deal with that in the future? So if someone has a conviction for domestic violence or assault, if the conviction is spent, they can still be a councillor and member of the party.
Well, if we think they're good enough, if we think they've genuinely, decided that the past was awful. I tell you what, there are Young Offenders Institutes today full of people. If half of them turned out as well as James McMurdoch, we'd be a better country. Do you believe in Christian forgiveness?
Everyone believes in redemption. Everyone should have second chances.
Is he not a very good example?
Nigel, that is not the question I'm asking. What I'm saying is there is a discrepancy here between what the court documents said and what James has said.
Right.
Is that not an issue for constituents? That's the point, that there isn't transparency.
You go and knock on their doors. You go and knock on their doors. And I'll bet you, in that part of Essex.
He only won by
where there are
98
many,
votes, and there might have been people, particularly
I'll bet
women, that
you-
might have suffered domestic abuse or violence
I'll
or
bet you
assault
there are
that might be
many,
uncomfortable with that.
I'll
Do you
bet
take
you-
the point?
No, I don't take the point, because I'll bet you there are many young tearaways right now in Basel and elsewhere who are being sent off to young offenders institutes who may well go on to lives of repetitive crime, maybe even violent crime. This is an example of a human being who's picked himself up from a terrible situation and made a big success of his
But
life.
in terms of being a MP and representing constituents, my point here is not
No,
what happened. My point is that there is a discrepancy.
Right. Well,
He
I haven't
said
seen
I
it.
pushed
believe
her
you.
over.
I believe you. I
But
haven't
that's
seen the
the court
discrepancy.
document.
It's a spent
Well, what did
conviction,
he tell you
end
he'd
of
done?
conversation.
Well, what did he say he'd
Spent
done to you?
conviction, end of conversation.
His constituents.
I tell you what, we're busy, right? We're building a new political party. You are talking about a spent conviction from 20 years ago. What's happened is happened. Whether there are discrepancies or not, I don't know. What I know is he's a fine young man who's turned out really very, very well.
But for the
he's a serving
victim,
member of Parliament.
for him to imply that she was pushed over
I
when
don't
the
know.
court document says he
don't
kicked her,
know.
that's difficult for the victim, isn't
I'll
it?
believe anything you say.
It's not what I say, it's what the court
I don't
document
know.
says.
I haven't read
it's
it.
not what I said, it's a
I
court
don't know. It's
document.
20 years ago. And this
Okay,
is why,
fine.
and this is why, you know, mainstream media like you are losing the affections of the British public. Let's worry about where we are today. Let's worry about where the country's going. Let's worry about the fact we're getting poorer. Let's worry about the fact that our communities are breaking down, that people are scared to walk on the streets of London wearing
That
a watch
wasn't my
or jewellery.
question.
No,
My-
no, I know.
what
I know.
what
and
I'm
you're
asking
talking,
you-
You're talking about an inside Westminster story that you want to talk about.
If you want to professionalise the party, then these are questions people are going to ask. And if it was another political party and this has happened, you would expect me to ask them as well.
I have not heard you ask a single Labour minister about the case where a man was on the ground in Runcorn a few weeks ago and punched 5 times on the ground.
Has he not been suspended for that?
Suspended.
I thought he had the whip suspended.
Still a member of Parliament.
Have you? But you
Still a
didn't-
member of Parliament.
But he has had the whip suspended, and they are investigating it.
We'll see.
Whereas what you're saying here is that the court documents are irrelevant. So
I'm saying a spent conviction is irrelevant. You're quite right.